It's Waiver Wire, Week 8. We have 12 players to break down before waiver claims process on Wednesday as the 2024 NFL season progresses. That's 2 tight ends, 4 running backs, 4 wide receivers, and 2 quarterbacks for your consideration for the best Waiver Wire additions this week. We got injuries from Ayuk, Debo, Juju, Pop Douglas, DK Metcalf, David Montgomery, and Jaden Daniels. We'll go position by position from most viable to pure desperation, from tight ends, running backs, wide receivers, to quarterbacks. Don't skip, unless you're a hopeless, uncultured swine. We're going to start off with tight ends. And Hunter Henry, 30%. This week, it was Hunter Henry who got the bulk of the looks. Henry had a few weeks with massive production through 7 weeks, and a lot of quarterbacks didn't fall back on their big man in the middle of the field. So he is worth keeping an eye on and adding if you've got a spare spot on your roster. After all, even in May's first start, Henry was still second on the team in terms of targets, despite his lack of production. Noah Fant, 23%. Look, finding a good, consistent tight end is tough these days, so anytime we see a spark from a player, it's notable. All right, Fant recorded back-to-back games with 60-plus receiving yards, and according to PFF, his 210 routes run over the first 6 weeks are the 3rd most for a tight end. Couple that with the Seahawks and Geno leading the league in passing yards, he should be on your radar. That's top tight end waivers. Let's do the running backs. Jaylen Warren, 42%. Look, it's clear that the Steelers like Najee Harris as the team's lead back. But Warren has some sneaky upside now that Russell Wilson is the team's quarterback. Look, between 2022 and 2023, no quarterback checked the ball down more often than Russell Wilson. Warren has made a name for himself as a pass-catching back, and as he gets healthier, his snap count is going to increase, and for full PPR, he's got a lot of potential. Monty Vidal, 24%. We haven't seen him in Week 7 yet, but the absence of Gus Edwards combined with the Chargers' upcoming schedule makes Vidal an interesting add. Dobbins is going to be hard-pressed to maintain his 27-carry workload from week to week. The Chargers' contests in Week 8 and 9 are against the Saints, who just allowed Javonte to run all over him in Thursday Night Football. So, at the very least, he can do some nice work as a team's receiving back, and he has a nice floor because of that. Ray Davis, 29%. Davis continues to make a case to receive more playing time, even with James Cook healthy. The rookie running back capped off the drive with a 16-yard touchdown late in the 4th quarter. Davis will look to continue his hot streak against Seattle in Week 8. You do worse. Tyler Goodson, 15%. To the surprise of literally no one, Trey Sermon has been horrible. Tyler Goodson did what they needed on the ground in Week 7 in the victory over Miami with 51 yards and a tutty on 14 carries. He might have standalone value as the Colts' complimentary running back even when Taylor returns, whenever that is. That's your top 4 best options at running back. Let's do wide receivers. Ricky Pearsall, 25%. Let's go, Ricky. Deebo Samuel is dealing with that illness or whatever. Brandon Ayuk blew out his knee. Jesus Christ. Pearsall led the Niners in snaps while drawing 16% target share. Look, brighter days are ahead. I know he didn't have a stellar performance, but the team is going to need him and Juwan Jennings to step up for the rest of the season with that Ayuk. He's a first-round pick tied to one of the best coaches in the whole league, and they need passing weapons. Cedric Tillman, 2%. The trade that sent Amari to the Bills was supposed to be a win for Jerry Jeudy. Instead, Jeudy caught 1 pass for 18 yards, while Tillman went off 8 catches and 81 yards on 12 targets. Look, we don't know if he's going to do this week to week, but that's enough to let him be a bench spot on your roster, Trey Tucker, 21%. With Devontae Adams in a Jets uniform, the Raiders' #1 wide receiver spot is up for grabs, even though Brock Bowers is, obviously the guy there. Tucker showed potential as a pass catcher in their offense earlier in the season and racked up 9 targets and 96 yards earlier in the season. So, he can do it. He's only really competing with Jacoby Myers, and he's got more upside with Myers working through that injury. So, Montavian Wicks, 34%. Montavian Wicks caught 3 of 6 targets for 48 yards and a touchdown in the Packers' 24-22 win over the Houston Texans. Wicks found the end zone on a 30-yard touchdown pass in the second quarter, marking the longest play of the day for Love in the Packers offense. Wicks will look to continue to build that momentum in Week 8 against the league's worst secondary, the Jacksonville Jaguars. One position left. 2 players. Drake May, 25%. Through 2 starts, May has looked pretty good. Sure, he doesn't have a great roster around him, but he's thrown for over 500 yards and 5 tutties and 2 interceptions. I mean, that's not bad. He's tallied a respectable amount of fantasy points in both of those games, which makes him a pretty serviceable spot start if your starting quarterbacks is, dog or they're approaching the bye or you've just had some kind of disaster. Jameson Winston. Winston, the emergency number 3 quarterback this weekend, found himself on the field after Deshaun blew out his knee and DTR got injured or he's just trash. It doesn't matter. With Watson sidelined for the rest of the season, I mean, Winston is definitely going to be the Browns starter for the rest of the season, so I don't know. You could do worse. He'd be slinging some balls down the field. These 12 players are the most viable options based off Week 7 production, availability, and outlook. If you had an injury or you want some depth or you want to beef up your bench, you just never know what's going to happen week to week. So like the video, subscribe, turn on post notifications so you stay prepared for Sunday. That's the video. Watch some more videos!